Hello, this video is made possible by my supporters on Patreon. Minasan, arigatou gozaimasu. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, an exercise that I do each and every day, a little bit after waking up. It's now 4:52 a.m. I'm running a little bit behind. It's something that I do to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. You can get a link. You can find the book at the link above. And if there's no link showing, you can find the link down in the description. I use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with various challenges and opportunities that I met. I think about the coming day, plan for what I can see, prepare for what I can't, and ready myself for death. But before I begin any of that, I always like to start off with at least that recently, start off with a poem. And I'm going to stick with Edward Thomas, who's fast becoming my favorite poet. Aaron, my friend over on Facebook, he seems to be in agreement and appreciation of the poet. And we were talking yesterday. It was nice talking to you about that yesterday, Aaron, if you see this. I'm going to read probably Edward Thomas's most famous poem, one of his earliest too. It's like his second or third poem he ever wrote. One. Imagine that. Two, three. It's his third poem, if this is correct in the chronological order. And it's probably his most famous. I had to read this my fourth time to read it, and it's finally sinking in. I didn't get it at all the first time. Second time I got it a little better. I think I'm there. It relates to sentiment about a plant. I don't know just what kind of plant it is, growing just beside the door to his house that has pungent, fragrant leaves. And if you pull a leaf off and squeeze it a little bit, kind of like rosemary, smell it. It has a very particular smell, but it's not rosemary. It's called Old Man, or Lad's Love, and that's the name of the poem, Old Man. This poem in particular has to do with his daughter, who had picked up a habit of going in and out of the house and grabbing tearing off a leaf. It sounds like it's kind of like a ferny plant, and then tearing the leaves and sniffing her finger before discarding them. And he's talking about this, the feeling and the sense and the memory that he has of that same plant in his mind, but he can't quite picture where he got it. Old Man. Old man, or lad's love, in the name there's nothing to no one that knows not lad's love, or old man, the hoar green feathery herb, almost a tree, growing with rosemary and lavender. Even to one that knows it well, the names half decorate, half perplex the thing it is. At least, what that is clings not to the names in spite of time, and yet I like the names. The herb itself I like not, but for certain I love it, as some day the child will love it, who plucks a feather from the door-side bush whenever she goes in or out of the house. Often she waits there, snipping the tips and shriveling the shreds at last onto the path, perhaps thinking, perhaps of nothing, till she sniffs her fingers and runs off. The bush is still but half as tall as she, though it is as old. So well she clips it, not a word she says, and I can only wonder how much hereafter she will remember, with that bitter scent of garden rose and ancient damson trees topping a hedge, a bent path to a door, a low, thick bush beside the door, and me forbidding her to pick. As for myself, where first I met the bitter scent is lost, I, too, often shrivel the gray shreds, sniff them and think and sniff again, and try once more to think what it is I am remembering, always in vain. I cannot like the scent, yet I would rather give up others more sweet with no meaning than this bitter one. I have mislaid the key. I sniff the spray and think of nothing. I see and I hear nothing, yet seemed too to be listening, lying in wait for what I should, yet never can remember. No garden appears, no path, no hoar green bush of lad's love or old man, no child beside, neither father nor mother, nor any playmate, only an avenue, dark, nameless, without end. Always with the avenues and the trails and the signposts. Hey, Mr. Thomas. Favorite poet. That did it for me, that one. I plan to carry this book with me in Japan to read when I stop at parks or beside the sea or at a river's edge or wherever, in a Kiseten coffee shop. I love poetry that I can't recover myself from. It's like getting knocked over with a haymaker. Let's do it. Yesterday and today. Yesterday I had the day off, and I got so much done. I'm preparing myself for Japan, and I got so much done. If you ask me what it was that I did, I can make you a vague catalog, but I won't even bother just to say that I was preparing in earnest. I was packing my bags, preparing for my new life. Not postponing this life for that life. I've outgrown that habit, but preparing and living in earnest in the same moment. I had good interactions yesterday on Patreon. Who knew that venue? I've postponed having a Patreon presence for so long, and who knew suddenly how important that is? Not for the money necessarily, although that's important too, and it will be increasingly important as I make my way from this life to the next, but important as a catalyst for thought. There's 4 of you over there, and to be able to talk to you, ask you questions like I was asking yesterday, getting your feedback. Thank you. And a catalyst to drive me to, in the best sense of the word, drive, to improve and be better and do. Excuse me. Yesterday was a good day. Had a great drive home from the beach with Emily. Picked her up at the beach event she had with her fraternity. I know, fraternity for women. It's a co-ed fraternity. She's a brother. Picked her up. She's in her last year. And as we came home, 10 minutes home, 10-minute drive, she distilled down into that 10 minutes. She was talking at me, telling me about how the injustice of the fact that you need a college degree for the opportunities that she's seen now that she's preparing to segue off into the work world. She's realizing that she has opportunities now that she wouldn't have if she didn't have a degree. She doesn't have it yet, but she's on the fast track. She'll have it this time next year. And in particular, she was upset because a friend of hers in Japan who is quite capable doesn't have the degree and yet has the capabilities. And he's not having the same opportunities. And I understand her sentiment, and she's right. It's not fair. And I explained to her that sometimes employers don't have a good measure. I explained to her that sometimes when we're interviewing people, I'm a person that interviews people. Sometimes I get 30 minutes with them on a resume. I can't gauge a lot from that sometimes, but having the certificate and the stamp of a 4-year degree speaks volumes about that person's ability to commit and follow through on a significant project and goal. And it also, and told her this is something that's a little more intangible. It also tells them a little bit about what they'll have in terms of what they're bringing to the table in terms of having completed dozens perhaps of essays, presentations, reports, nights of homework, study, etc., that contribute to a mindset that employers want. And I said, there's this bar, right? I mean, the jobs above the jobs that require degrees and the jobs that don't. And you're right, it's not fair. There's people, so many people that can't cross that bar because they don't have it. And it's not fair. And I agree. Yet it's sadly the way the world is. Now maybe that'll change in the coming years. Sadly, it's the way the world is. And to see her understand that, as a father that worries about my daughter going into the world, and as I begin to retire, and I won't have quite the means that I have now to support her, makes me happy that she realizes that, and I'm also happy that she's concerned about others. She always is. Anyway, yesterday was a good day. So much done. So many interesting things happened. I'm just scratching the surface there. But let me move on. Any challenges? Yeah, there was one challenge. I didn't spend enough time in the water. It was cold. It was really cold, and I just got in the water, and I was scared. There were dozens of dolphins playing just off the coast. I don't know what the hell they were doing. They were jumping all over the place and splashing and surfing in the waves, like just right there where I didn't want to swim out and get amongst them. So I don't know why they were just, whatever they were doing seemed like I shouldn't disturb them, so I didn't stay in the water very long. They were doing weird stuff. And the water's really cold. I saw Angela at the beach. It was good to see her. Saw Bob. He's got some tough stuff. I think I've got enough of that. Bob's got some really tough stuff. The Good Life. 8 objectives, 35 principles, as follows. The objectives are to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, like I'm not doing now, and then to keep my balance. 35 principles: war, reason, homunculus, anchor hold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, principle of nature, the pirate ride, maturity, social principle, principle of family, public speaking, temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, the feast of offal, distraction, agency, and the great indifference, the best seat in the house, the restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk, sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the season of philosophy, script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility, nothing is enough, the principle of fun and being ready. I think I got through them all. I almost stumbled a couple times like tree roots in the trail. As for today, it's another day off, but it's a Saturday chock full of stuff. Finish this, do my writing, read my Bible, edit one page of my book, feed the dogs, feed myself, do all my usual stuff, catch up on all my YouTube comments, all my meta comments, catch up on my email, blah, blah, blah. I've got some long email that I've got to respond to I haven't done. When people send me long email, I like to hold off on them until I've got both the time and the mental readiness to do that. I might have that this morning, we'll see. And then I have to get to the beach and do my book reading. What am I going to read today? Yes, last week I read the really tough chapter. I read the whole damn thing though. The anxiety hike. It's a long trudge through the desert. Path of Wildness. That's a long chapter too. A long, crazy chapter, I think. Path of Wildness. It's easy to find. It's the course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast's track through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. Am I ready for death? Oh, and then after I do all that, then I'll clean the house and go have lunch with Emiko, and we'll do our shopping. Am I ready for death? Are my affairs in order? Absolutely. Are my relationships sound? Nearly sound. I need to call my mom today. It's her birthday today, and we haven't talked for weeks since I hung up on her about 4 weeks ago. She called me. I don't know why she's so mean to me. She called me with just such abuse. It's been a long time since I've had to hang up the phone on her. Years since I've done that. But, you know, I don't know why she does this. But she says such terrible things. And so I said, Mom, I can't do this. And I just hung up the phone. I haven't talked to her since. I just, it's like this cadence that, we get, and it resets, right? It's this cycle, things, and then I'll talk to her. I'm going to call her today because it's her birthday. And I make it a point. I try to call my mom at least every week or two, just to do a welfare check, just to make sure she's okay. She's 86 years old, 87 today. I need to know if she's okay, because I need to fulfill my duty as a son to make sure she's okay. Yeah, she won't. I'm not going to spend 10 minutes going down that rabbit hole now, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with me, and furthermore, I'm pretty convinced that she's out to get me. Has been since I was a kid. And I'm not alone. My brother's in the same boat. He hasn't talked to her forever. Anyway, it's gonna have to screw up some strength to call her today, because it's more strength than I can possibly muster, but I'll do it. I'll do it. Call her in the morning after the beach, maybe. So then my relationships will be sound. Not sound in terms of having a good relationship with my mom. I've given up on that. I gave up on that in my 20s. But in terms of at least keeping a lifeline open so that when she needs me, she'll reach out to me. And is my life's work complete? Yeah, my daughter's grown and my book's complete. And like I said, I'm really pleased with the direction my daughter's going in. Okay, sign off then. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.